You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. It's Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. Ty, I gotta ask you, what is the least favorite sound on the planet? Like about 20 minutes before recording, I had some sort of issue with the setup here, and I had some crazy feedback going on. And it was like looped to my, and I was like having it really, it was like a medical situation up here. But I survived, and I think we're all good.
I think for me, it's Heart.
The band.
Yeah. Or ZZ Top.
Ann and Nancy are legends. Billy Gibbons is an icon. Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have asked you. But now I gave you the reaction you were looking for. So I just asked for it myself,
Exactly.
just like Ticat fans.
Yeah, if you guys would just shut up.
Yeah, if you let Bomber fans or Rider fans fill up Ty's notifications, those will become his targets. That's the secret here.
But I mean, the teams in the murky middle, they don't get the shrapnel.
Right.
The ones that are either really, really good or really, really bad.
They get it all.
Or any team that employs Jason Moss.
Which is a really, really bad team right now.
Fair.
This episode of Two and Out is brought to you by the Well Endowed Podcast by the Edmonton Community Foundation. It's hosted and produced by Andrew Paul and Lisa Pruden, and it explores the impact of passionate people who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in. The Edmonton Community Foundation helps people create endowment funds, and the podcast tells the stories of how these endowments intersect with. Episode 131 is the latest episode of the Well Endowed Podcast, and they look at how bias in data gathering can impact representation of communities. It should be a good listen, so subscribe and listen to all the episodes at the wellendowedpodcast.com. All right, Ty, here we go. Week 15. Just when everybody thought that these three games might be the most predictable three games on the CFL schedule, I think this one was the most up in the air. Saskatchewan and Edmonton.
Yeah.
The other two, ooh. But we will start Saskatchewan and Edmonton. I'm glad we're not recording on Friday night. I've had a little bit of time to cool off and release the steam valve coming out of each of my ears a little bit here. The Riders falling to the Elks.
I got to read most of that steam.
26-24, the Elks go to Mosaic Stadium and leave with a victory on Chris Jones's return to Mosaic. And you could tell that win meant something to him with the big fist pump at the end of the game, but that makes it 5 losses in a row at Mosaic Stadium for the Riders. What is it with teams in the CFL seeming to struggle at home this season?
I don't know.
The last few.
Well, I mean, I gotta fix this. I can't touch the ground right now. My feet weren't flat.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. The two teams that are struggling at home, like without, like not including the Riders, are obviously struggling all over the place
For the most part, yeah.
So I don't know if home or away really matters at that point.
Yeah.
For the Riders, you look at their schedule, it's been Winnipeg, it's been BC. The Elks come in who probably playing a little bit better football than we expected them to be playing coming out of Labor Day in the rematch.
Well, what's crazy is they give Edmonton or Calgary a challenge on Labor Day and then get crushed at
get
home.
rolled. Yeah, like I don't know if it's pressure because you have that whole protect this house mentality in every dressing room, right? Like you're expected to go 500 on the road, and and take care of business at home. And teams aren't doing that. I don't know if it's the added pressure or not, especially in Regina. They have the blackout before the game. You know the crowd's amped up. They're going to be all over you. Jump out to that early lead and piss it away.
Well, and right now the Elks are 500 on the road and winless at home. So they're doing, their job on half of their schedule. Yep. But you're right. The Riders had a 10-0 lead. It looked like they were going to take care of business in this one. But after that 10-0 lead, it kind of just fell apart. And it's not as if Edmonton played a completely clean game. They had 158 yards in penalties. They were fumbling the ball all over the place. I mean, it's lucky that Saskatchewan didn't pick up even half of some of those balls that hit the turf. Mm-hmm. One of them was a command center thing, and maybe you could say that, yeah, it did look inconclusive, but the whole not recovering a fumble immediately, I don't know. I think that's one of the dumbest rules in football, but the Riders had all sorts of opportunities to make things happen, to complete some of these turnovers, and they just didn't. Like, even when Edmonton, Darrell Walker, I don't know, he had to get a pinky popped back into place or something like that. He leaves and comes back before the 3 plays are over. That's 100% on coaching. So Edmonton presented Saskatchewan with opportunities, but some of the same old stuff from the offense and the offensive line that we have seen this season. It happened where the Elks are sending 3- and 4-man pressure, and they're facing 5, 6, 7 blockers from the Riders, and they're not even slowing them down.
It wasn't even close when it came to O-line play. One team was a professional football team. The other one was a peewee offensive line. Like, it was terrible. I rewatched the fourth quarter this morning, and halfway through I kind of just gave up interest because it was like I was watching the same thing on repeat. Yeah. Just turnstiles. Like, I thought we got rid of Xavier Fulton. Like, I don't get it.
Like, I know Furland wasn't playing. I know Dan Clark's not playing, but and Jeremy O'Day's taking a lot of fire right now.
I can't believe Josiah St. John held out, and this is the product that you get.
But he had a couple solid games this season. It didn't translate here.
No,
it was brutal. And that being said, the Elks controlled both lines of scrimmage. Their offensive line controlled Saskatchewan's. And I know I make the Marino jokes, but
they're
the middle,
1-5 without him.
I know. Nothing is happening for the Riders in the middle of the defensive line, and it's having a ripple effect. I know Lanier's not playing, the concussion symptoms, but right now, basically choosing to spend money on Duke Williams over Micah Johnson is having a bit of a problem, isn't it?
Say that again?
Choosing to spend that kind of money on Duke Williams instead of Micah Johnson is proving to be a bit of a problem.
So you're saying that I was right. That's literally all I heard. Everything you said after that was
I think we can indirectly blame it on Kenny the King Lawler for fleecing the Elks for $300,000 and setting the receiver market in the Canadian Football League last year.
I gotta say something. Now that we do Zoom, it's way more fun to see my own reactions when you say stuff.
You don't care about seeing me. You just want to see yourself.
I can't stop looking at my mustache.
And I know that even Micah Johnson wasn't getting the sack numbers, but he had an impact.
Drake Nevis.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have that interior line to have success with your defensive ends and your outside linebackers.
Yeah.
Before they had signed Duke, I had said that you can't overpay for him. You can't, because you're going to leave holes everywhere else. We've seen teams overpay quarterbacks, which makes a hell of a lot more sense than overpaying a receiver. But this leaves too many holes, and now he's hurt. He's, doing some stupid stuff every now and then, which, I mean, that's not overly surprising. When it comes to Duke, he's kind of got somewhat of a history. But, when you have Shaq and Kean Schaefer-Baker, and you still have Kyron Moore when he's healthy. Like you don't need Duke, I don't think. And it leaves too many holes because of the salary cap situation. Not only that, but the coach's cap and the front office cap, you're now hamstrung that way because you got 3 guys that are going into next year, the OC being one of them, under contract at the end of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So are you willing to pay somebody against the cap to go home?
Jeremy O'Day's been taking some fire, but I mean, he did make a lot of moves. Sankey coming in, Dean coming in, Moncrief coming back, Duke coming in.
The money he spent on defense, especially at the linebacker position, I think was the best money he spent in the season for sure. I don't even think it's a question at this point.
Making the trade for Alford, but it's the offensive line, and this year with the depth, I think at receiver, the Canadian receiving talent, and drafting a receiver in the first round instead of an offensive lineman, I think so. The Riders were originally supposed to host the 2020 Grey Cup, and if outstanding circumstances in the world don't happen, they have a very good offensive line with Brendan Labatt, and I think that he really relied on Labatt coming back this season without the restrictions, and it didn't happen. And Clark getting hurt, it is not not good. And with 4 games left in the season, I know lots of Rider fans demanding change. I don't see it helping.
No, and you make changes now. Like, what is your end goal to make these changes? Right now, you're in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Do you ride that out, try to go through the East? Because if there is a year, I mean,
look at the East.
How many times do we have to say it? If there is a year where a West team can beat the East in the East final, this is the year. That's a broken record. It's probably not going to happen. But do you want to take your chances and go that route? Or do you start making changes for next year and you still go to the East unless Edmonton catches you or unless you absolutely implode and Hamilton goes on a huge run and you miss? Like, if you make changes now, you still make the playoffs and you lose. Okay, but now you're going to be upset that you lost because there's no pleasing this fan base. We both know that.
I
don't think it matters what Jeremy O'Day does.
And
anything short of a Grey Cup every year is seen as blow it up.
I think that Cody Fajardo is going to take the fall. That's what I see happening here. I mean, fair enough.
I would cut the head off the snake first.
Fair enough. He's not all of the problem.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I think
he's part of it. But.
We know that he's not the elite talent that a Nathan Rourke is. Let's just throw the name out there. He doesn't have that ability to get out the ball that fast. He's not as accurate on the deep ball. So he needs a good supporting cast around him and a strong offensive line. It's just not there. But, I mean, up until this point, the Riders have relied on the defense to keep them going. And it didn't happen in the Banjo Bowl. It didn't happen here. Some of the tackling displayed by this, I thought, championship level defense is not like I saw runs from Darrell Walker getting all the yards after catch he wanted. Taylor Cornelius, he had 93 rushing yards himself. I mean, Darrell Walker and Taylor Cornelius get paid as well, but Walker, I mean, he had 56 yards after catch, 109 yards. Hey, 2 consecutive 100-yard games for him, so good for him. He did have he was fighting the ball a little bit. He was big on the final drive, but some of the missed tackles and missed angles from the Rider defense, it looks like they gave up as well. I thought that maybe Jason Shivers was a candidate to take over at head coach. I think a lot of fans were pushing for that, but with the way the defense is playing, with basically losing a D tackle, I don't know if that's an option anymore.
Yeah, and if Garrett Marino is the reason the defense has done this, then I think the problems run a lot deeper than we thought. Like did Marino do something that other than anything we've seen to get cut? I don't understand it, or were they just doing it because they knew or because they thought it would buy them something, some goodwill?
Right.
Because I know we had said it when he hurt Masoli the second time. And, you know, the antics after, like, I would cut him, don't need that stuff around. Like, maybe there's something to be said. Like, yes, you need glue guys, you need those guys in the locker room. Do you want them representing your team is another question.
Yeah, yeah.
But if cutting him is what's turned this defense into what we saw Friday, this wasn't a championship level defense to begin with. Then
I know
there's a bigger issue.
It's wild because they've got talent on that side of the ball. I know the joke with Nick Marshall is that anytime the ball's thrown his way, it's a good chance of being a touchdown.
It's 6 points for one of the two teams. It could be either team.
Just like
Dylan
Mitchell.
That ball is getting caught. I don't care if it's by the
Mitchell.
receiver or Nick Marshall.
Wide open. Number 17, a 77-yard touchdown. And hey, Kevin Brown, it looks like the Elks have found their number one running back. 14 carries, 109 yards, just under 8 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm. And Cornelius had 93. Like you said, like when was the last time you saw an offense with 200 yards? I'm going to call Cornelius a 100-yard rusher. Like you take
basically,
7 yards, take 7 yards away from Kevin Brown. Boom.
He had a 56-yard run.
When was the last time you saw numbers like that from two separate guys?
I know. And look, the Elks are now 3 consecutive games giving up a blocked punt. Like, it cannot be understated how many opportunities the Riders had here.
Oh, man.
To win the game. And there was only really 2 successful drives from them at the beginning of the game. And then in the fourth quarter, which I thought was terrible clock management, giving the Elks the ball with just over a minute to go. But on Labor Day, I said, you got to rely on your defense. Just a few weeks later,
the defense is playing way better. The defense is playing way better on Labor Day than
just 2 weeks ago. And now you can't rely on them. Frankie Hickson had 10 carries for 14 yards. The Riders were manhandled up front on both sides of the ball. Credit to the Elks for making that happen. And this game,
I blame Coach Vic.
Yeah, Coach Vic making the trip from Sylvan Lake all the way to Edmonton to watch his team win in Regina. I mean, missed field goals, 2 of them off uprights. I mean, this game...
When are we going to make balls off the uprights live?
I think that would be chaotic and great. Even if like the field goal team recovers it and goes into the come on.
Yeah. But no, then they only get 3 points though. Be like on a 2-point convert. If you get a pick 6, it's a pick 2.
I like this idea.
Yeah.
I really do like this idea.
We're going full live golf with it.
So, I mean, there you have it on this game. Braden Lennius, the 1 touchdown catch in the fourth quarter. Like I said, giving the Elks the ball back with 68 seconds to go. The Kean Schaefer-Baker getting 3 carries out of the backfield was really confusing me as the game went on. He also had 3 catches. Shaq Evans had the catch on third down. Ended up being a 42-yard touchdown. And then later in the game on 3rd and 1, the Riders give the ball to Hickson 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But I digress. A very chaotic game. And going forward, let's face it, the Elks just need to win at home. Can they do it at home? We've seen them have this success on the road and follow it up with an absolute stinker at home.
Like if they somehow backdoor their way into the crossover, they're on the road. That's exactly what they want.
But after Hamilton demolished the Bombers, is there going to be a crossover?
I don't know.
It's not a given.
Not anymore.
It looked like it was a foregone conclusion.
In week 4.
Yeah. But now, I'm not convinced that Edmonton can beat Montreal at home.
No, they're not. They got to play Winnipeg too, I believe.
And then
I'm not. And then they're back to back against Calgary in the year. Like they're up against it.
Saskatchewan's got to play Winnipeg and Calgary twice. Saskatchewan's got to go to Hamilton over Thanksgiving, which all of a sudden is a
That's
massive
huge implications. For more than one reason, obviously.
Like, if this week went the way where most people thought it was going to go, I think the rest of the season would be kind of boring. We'd be
jockeying for positions, and everybody would be resting guys and whatever. If you would have done a 3-way or like a 3 underdog parlay, because it would have hit this week, be $4,500 on $100.
Wow.
Like,
well, in a lot of these, I think the closest game was the Calgary BC at a 6.5 point spread or something. Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, according to the betting lines, were predicted to win by more than a touchdown. So,
but like you mentioned the fumbles, there's 6 fumbles in this game. None of them were lost fumbles.
Yeah,
and there were no picks.
Yeah.
Like, both teams took care of the football. Just that one played like absolute garbage.
What a fascinating game. Like, God bless the CFL.
Oh, man. Wow. And God bless college football, because Alabama hit the over on their own and won me $200 yesterday.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats, 48-31 over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. My wife was she was cruising on her iPad as I was watching this game, and she made a comment on how many times I said, wow. Like, I was just I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Owen Wilson? Wow.
Dane Evans with take Nathan Rourke out of the equation. Dane Evans had an MOP level performance here.
Yeah.
5 touchdown passes, the confidence that he played with. He looked like an entirely new, he looked like the guy that the Ticats invested all of that time and money in to begin the season.
He looked like the Dane Evans we saw lead this team to a Grey Cup after Masoli went down.
Yeah.
Completely different guy.
The offense, like the Winnipeg defense, and I think a big factor here was there were some backups and some rookies playing in the defensive backfield, but the protection on Dane Evans was there. The pressure on Dane Evans from the Winnipeg D-line was not there, and Jackson Jeffcoat ended up leaving this game. The way that the Ticats dominated every point in this game. Their fullback, Felix Garon-Gauthier, is tied for the
3 catches.
Everything went right for the Ticats. They intercepted Zach Collaros twice. They forced a fumble on him, Malik Carney taking it to the house. A dominant performance from the Ticats. They even ran the ball. Wes Hills had 10 carries for 5.8 yards a carry. And then I think the defining moment in the game, because we've seen this happen with the Bombers where they get down, but their composure is just, it's unmatched.
Labor Day.
Yeah. And they ended up being down 10 points in the fourth quarter. And Hamilton, earlier in the season, would have done something monumental to blow it. But what did they do? 14 plays, 90 yards, 7 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock, ending that drive in a David Ungerer touchdown.
Completely took the wind, the littlest bit of wind that was left in Winnipeg Sails was gone. Gone.
Yeah.
And you look
eating half a quarter in CFL football.
Yeah, forget it. Like, good luck. Like, if you're not going to win at least that quarter, like, forget the game. You got to win that quarter for sure.
Course.
You better if you're gonna have the ball for 7.5 minutes and walk away with a field goal. I expect you to lose that football game.
Oh yeah.
But like, you look, Evans with the 5 touchdowns, 327 yards, had 9 different receivers.
Wow.
This is what we thought Hamilton was, where they had guys that they could just get the ball to. Anybody could just kind of anybody could go in any position. They would throw guys in where you weren't used to seeing them, and they would get a job done and just be this juggernaut that seemed to roll through the East the last couple of years. We haven't seen it. We saw it Saturday, and it's against the best team in the league. I don't know what happened.
Is it coincidence? Both Bomber losses have come against the East Division on weeks before they're on a bye.
You say they're looking past them?
But I don't see O'Shea allowing his team to look past the team or look to the bye. It's a crazy coincidence, I guess.
Coincidence, or is it if they get down, it's like, well, let's save our guys. We got a week of rest. We can use it now. But if you got that extra week, why not go all out? Like, I think it's just a coincidence.
I mean,
but I feel sorry for the Riders next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the Riders got
they're going to
get a bye too, but
they're going to get run over.
I can't say that they played, well, maybe they did play as bad as they did in the flu game on the Banjo Bowl. No, I think the offense actually played worse.
Yeah, you said Cody Fajardo had a good game, so
like
say that today.
And I also said did the Riders give the Bombers that stomach virus?
Yeah.
Keandre Smith had a 54-yard touchdown. Mentioned the David Ungerer touchdown. Tim White,
his only catch, 6 yards.
Yeah. Tim White, 2 scores. Stephen Dunbar, another beautiful touchdown pass. And it was the way and the throws that he was making took real confidence. Like he was feeling it. Like it was a completely different guy. I guess he had been working with a sports psychiatrist trying to get his
He's got that dad strength now.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to get to work.
No. Absolutely not.
I'm trying to imagine you as a dad.
Wow. I wouldn't know how. I didn't have a role model.
Yeah, that's true.
I got there. Somehow.
You did.
I feel like
it's been a while. I feel like it's been a while.
It's been a while.
An Aaron Lewis reference. Wow. But it's not to say that Winnipeg didn't make plays. Dalton Schoen. It feels crazy that this guy's having his first year in the CFL. 6 catches, 158 yards, 26.3 yards a catch. Like anytime that they need to find the guy, they do. Rashid Bailey had another solid game, 5 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. And Brendan O'Leary-Orange, the Canadian drafted in 2020, coming in because of the injury to Drew Wolodarski, 6 catches, 72 yards. So, I mean, they were making plays on the Winnipeg side of the ball as well. It's just Hamilton, man. What a perfect game from the Ticats.
Yeah, and not something we expected to say this week at all.
Well, here's the question. This has to be a building block for the Ticats, right?
100%, yeah.
And now they're going into Montreal. I know the Owls are coming off the bye, but they're going into Montreal with all the momentum. And suddenly, if they beat the Owls, they're 5-10, while the Owls are 5-8, so they do have 2 games in hand. That's helpful, or 1 game in hand.
1 game, yeah.
So that's helpful for the Alouettes. This is a bizarre season, and then you take that same question to the Winnipeg side. Is there a reason to worry here? We know that the Bombers are obviously beatable, and the teams they've struggled the most against this year, the East teams. I don't know if they just have trouble getting up for those games. I mean, they stomped Saskatchewan. They beat Calgary, but they had trouble with Toronto.
They had trouble with Calgary too.
They did, but they ended up losing to Montreal, losing to Hamilton. I know they're experiencing some injury issues, especially in the defensive backfield. I think it just comes down to the defense not being as dominant as we've come to be accustomed to from this Winnipeg team.
Yeah, this is definitely the most beatable that they've looked. Even when they were winning games early in the year and everything, there still seemed to be just those little nuances that didn't seem to quite fit with what Winnipeg had done.
Yeah.
And you're going to have roster turnover when you win championships. It's inevitable in a cap system. It happens. But their points for, they're plus 106.
Second most points in the league to the Stamps.
Right. Like,
and they've played just one more game. But
yeah. Like this is still a team that is probably going to the Grey Cup. I think we saw it last year too. They had their stumbles and they still got it together. I mean, they weren't going to go 18-0. I just think the way that they lost this game isn't a good look, and that might cause fans to panic, but I don't think they should. I think O'Shea will fix it. He's got to buy. It's going to be taken care of. I think it's just going to be done.
Yeah, it's because the Montreal one was just, it was so close and it came right down to it, and the missed kicks and the overtime that, like, you would have been more expecting to see that in this game. And just the way the Ticats have looked up until this point. But I know this sounds ridiculous. The Lions have a shot at the West Final.
Wow. Mathematically, yes.
If we see this Winnipeg team, and I know they're undefeated against the West.
Oh, so, you mean like winning the West? I thought you meant hosting. I was like, well, yeah.
Well, BC could win the West. They play Winnipeg 2 more times.
and if we see the Vernon Adams and Antonio Pipkin that we saw this week, and James Butler,
I still think that the Bombers, I think they dig deep when it comes to playing the Western teams.
Yeah. Well, they're 7-0 against the West. Like it's crazy.
With Edmonton, by the way, 1-9.
Why do you do this?
The Riders, their 3 wins against the West, 2 came against Edmonton, and 1 against the Nathan Rourke-less BC Lions, who all of a sudden they look like a different team this week. It's like
me playing foosball against my nephew. No spinning, and then I just kill him 10 minutes.
So, hey, the Lions still have a shot in the playoffs, which is fascinating.
And I mean, if they get it, what are the chances that Rourke's healthy?
Well, I know. And he was on the sideline in the BC Calgary game. Let's talk about that, where the Lions beat the Stamps 31-29. Rourke was there. Rourke did say he is optimistic. And what else is he going to say? That he's going to make a return at the end of the season. It's unfortunate that the things overshadowing this game was calls on the field by the officials.
Weird.
And incidents after the game between the two teams.
The best.
Like, I know that people are going to say it's not a good look for the CFL, and it's
was it a good look when Mike Milbury beat a guy with his own shoe?
Probably not.
But we talk about it still. They show it on TSN
40 years later.
And it's hilarious. Get over it. And then he went and ruined another franchise when he took over the Islanders.
So in the first half,
he just screwed New York so hard.
Dominic Rhymes gets called for offensive pass interference. And then, which was, really? And then in the second half, I guess it was technically a penalty on Jameer Thurman, who gives Vernon Adams a shove, and Adams ends up tumbling.
The Manu Ginobili flop.
The pass interference on Ruffin that helped BC take the lead on that touchdown. And then 2 of those actually came on the one drive, the Thurman and the PI.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand when sometimes it'll be like the command center is going to step in and pick up flags and fix things. And then the next week it's like, whatever.
One week it's mom running the play date. The next day it's the dads, and they're drunk in the backyard and they don't care.
Yeah, beer and pizza in the command center.
Go kill each other in the backyard. Go play in traffic. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, and then the next week it's Caesar salads and kale smoothies and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, no, I'm not drinking this weekend. No, we got a big day planned tomorrow. Might end up at Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if we'll have time.
But the Lions win the season series with the Calgary Stampeders. They win the 2 games by a combined 3 points.
Yeah.
And okay, we didn't talk about what happened after the game. We'll get there. They win these 2 games. They play again on Saturday. They're probably going to play in the playoffs. If this playoff started tomorrow, it's BC Calgary West semifinal. But I think
BC.
Yeah, and I think after this one, BC's they're looking higher. They're looking at first place, and if they beat Calgary again on Saturday, first is a real possibility. And those 2 games between BC and Winnipeg at the end of the season are going to be remarkable. But I just think from the start, it was an entirely different Lions team that we saw the last couple of weeks. Vernon Adams gets his first start. He got himself into trouble a few times. We did see him running around in the pocket. He fumbles the ball, and that ended up being pretty big. And I mean, we saw classic VA with the big hurdle, and he flips over the guy. But as the game went on, I think he realized that, hey, I can throw to Dominic Rhymes. Hey, I can throw to Brian Burnham, and these guys are going to catch it.
Yeah. I mean, Lule found that out about Brian Burnham. Mike Riley found that out about Brian Burnham. Like, I don't understand why it takes guys so long to figure this out. He's one of the best. Like, yeah, we don't really consider him a possession receiver, but like he catches everything you throw at him. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't have the utmost confidence in him early in games and to get that ball rolling, because that's a recipe for success with any quarterback.
And man, I know that the Stampeders and Jake Mayer can be explosive one drive, but I think they're still trying to find that consistency with Calgary as well. I mean, right off the bat, what a beautiful play. Malik Henry, a 77-yard touchdown. He had 4 catches for 107 yards, but that exposes some things going on with BC. They're without Delvin Breaux. They're without TJ Lee. And when you're without those veterans in the secondary, you're going to have some mistakes back there. And that's what we saw. Malik Henry with the big touchdown. But the Stamps, it's almost like they punch you all game long with Kadeem Carey, with Reggie Bagleton, Malik Henry. And then in overtime, the Canadian Jalen Philpott getting the touchdown. Late in the fourth quarter, Luther Hakunavanu getting the touchdown as well. And those were both plays where those receivers were wide open. So looks like miscommunication in the secondary again. But on one hand, it's the Stampeders hitting you with Henry and Bagleton.
Playing a little bit of possum, and you just totally forget about the other guy.
Exactly. And those guys are making plays. And Hakunavanu, since Labor Day, he's starting to be, I think, that, I don't know, backdoor threat a little bit for the Stamps.
Dino Cicerelli sitting at the side of the open net waiting for tap-in rebounds.
You forget about him, then late in the game, boom. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best names in the CFL is on the stat sheet with a touchdown.
Man, we need to do that at the end of the year.
We should build a list. You're right.
Yeah. Say that, like, that's twice.
Did I say
this
you're
episode.
right?
Yeah, that's twice. In the same day. It's monumental.
Is it an all-time record?
I think so. Never heard it from anybody else. So.
Also, the Lions' rush defense needs to be a little bit better. And I know in the CFL, when teams get down, even if they're down a score or two, they completely abandon the run.
Yeah.
Kadeem Carey had 6.1 yards a carry, but the problem was they only gave him the ball 10 times. And whenever he got it, it seemed like he was making things happen. I mean, the financial, I saw this in JC Abbott's article on 3 Down Nation. You're paying that guy the money. I think you got to give him the ball a little bit more and help out your young quarterback. But the positive is that Calgary Mayer didn't throw any interceptions. So that's good for him too.
Another game with no picks.
Yeah. Yeah.
for both quarterbacks. I mean, you don't see that
Right.
very often. But yeah, like with Kadeem Carey, they only gave him the ball 10 times. Still got targeted 5 times coming out of the backfield. So that kind of helps with your, like, if they're quick swing passes and stuff like that, it's kind of just an extension of the running game.
Yeah.
But with what they're paying him to do, like, I don't understand when they go away from it so quickly. You're averaging 6.1. You take out the 26-yard rush he had, and the average doesn't look that great, but it's still around 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I guess that still looks good, but I mean, compared to, like, he was getting 6.1, so without that long rush, it's still around 5. Like, I mean, you're putting yourself in second and manageable. And if, like, I just don't get why. I understand the mentality that teams are down and they don't want to waste the clock. And it's like the first quarter, second quarter doesn't really, like, you're not going to waste that much clock.
No.
We're in the football and trying to set up your offense. And because if you just throw, like, BC, yes, 2 veterans out of the lineup, that's a huge loss in that defensive backfield. This isn't, you can't just air it out all game, every game. Like, you got, at some point, you have to establish the run. They didn't. It almost didn't cost them, but they didn't win the game in the end.
The BC Lions were also without a veteran offensive lineman in Suk Chung, which is actually remarkable. This is week 15, and it's the first time we've seen a different Lions offensive line.
Last year, we had 11 in 12 weeks.
Well, and that's the Riders this year. It's just a completely different offensive line every single week.
And we haven't talked about their offensive line because they haven't been hot garbage.
Yeah. And I realize that the quarterback early in the season helps with that.
Absolutely.
It does help with that. But Andrew Pearson comes in, makes the start, and it really seemed like they didn't have much of a drop off with their offensive line there. James Butler had 6.4 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. So if you spent the money on him in fantasy, you were happy with James Butler. He also added another 4 catches. And yeah, the aforementioned Brian Burnham, 7 catches, 100 yards. Dominic Rhymes, 5 catches, 91 yards. It just seemed like the calmness for Vernon Adams Jr., who had himself 25 of 32, and I know there was the fumble, but 294 yards, and kept the Lions in it, and they just had a completely different feel. And of course, they do go to overtime because Rene Paredes misses the 48-yard field goal at the end of the game, so the Lions had the chance to get that ball in overtime and win the game there. Rene Paredes, man, I know he's one of the most consistent kickers in CFL history.
Isn't he the most consistent?
I think he is. I think he's got the best field goal percentage, but missing a big one here. I remember the playoff game in Saskatchewan last year.
I didn't say it. You can piss Calgary off.
I mean, it had to be mentioned there. Yeah. Some big moments in the last few seasons haven't gone his way altogether, although still one of the best kickers in the CFL. And then after the game, it is said, I'm just going to tell you what I heard, or what we
telling you what I heard, not telling you it's true.
Yeah. So I guess Lucky Whitehead was taking trash talk a little too far with Cameron Judge during the game. I guess his family became a part of the conversation, and Lucky's face ended up meeting Judge's fist after the game. I don't know if this happened on the field. It's kind of he said, she said kind of thing happening right now.
Okay, Fred Durst.
A Limp Bizkit reference? Wow.
I just watched Trainwreck Woodstock 99.
Okay. And then I guess what happened is that the Lions ended up waiting for the Stampeders in the parking lot.
Love that.
I
love everything about that.
Then the police have to separate it, and these teams are going to be playing again in 5 days.
Is this a senior hockey league game in Macklin?
It seems like it.
This is nuts.
What kind of, seriously, like, what do they do? Judge and Whitehead done? Like,
without video, I don't know what you can do.
okay, I know trash talk can go too far. I know that. It's not right to bring a guy's family into it. Is that a suspensible offense?
No.
I think if anybody, well, if you're waiting in the parking lot for the guys, that's probably...
You can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot. How's the thing? Oh, The Nail? Great. It comes out next week.
We can work in one Happy Gilmore reference of show.
Yeah. Like you ask Gary
still.
ask Gary Payton, nothing's off limits when it comes to trash talk. But if you piss a guy off enough, you might have to pay the piper.
Exactly.
It doesn't come without consequences. Yeah, you can say what happens on the field stays on the field, but sometimes it doesn't.
We're not saying it's right. Well, I'm not saying it's right, but it happened.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do to fix it? Like,
I think
guys are going to say what they're going to say. You're not going to you can't have rules for trash talking.
I know, I've talked to players before, and I like to ask them about the trash talking. When the family gets involved, that's kind of next level stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if punching a guy, if what's said is true after the game, is the way to deal with it.
Oh, probably not. No.
I mean, I guess Judge didn't cost his team 15 yards during the game, so good for him.
Exactly. Just might not be there next week.
But there you go. What a wild week 15. I don't know what else to say about this week. Although the Riders haven't posted. I
didn't lose any ground in Pick'em.
They all got it wrong.
I went 0-3 and I'm still in 22nd.
Everyone got him wrong.
Yeah.
This episode of Two and Out brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Life as a business owner can be hectic to say the least, and Alberta Blue Cross understands that. They offer flexible health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees, and even better, you can let your staff enroll and manage their coverage at any time on any device. That makes life easier for them and for you. You've got this when it comes to group coverage for your small business, and Alberta Blue Cross has got your back. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. Ty, what did the fantasy numbers look like this week?
Do you want to take any guesses who the top 3 quarterbacks were?
Well, Dane Evans.
Yeah.
Taylor Cornelius.
Yeah.
Is third Cody Fajardo?
Ooh, almost. He was 4th. Jake Mayer, 24.8.
Only about, what, 2.3 more than Fajardo or something like that?
Yeah, 21.9. So basically 2.1, yeah, whatever. 2.9, I guess. Not a math guy.
Okay, running back.
Zach Claros was 5th. Running backs, James Butler ran away with it. There's James Butler, there's everybody else. He had 26.1. Kadeem Carey, 12.6. Kevin Brown, 12.4. And then the Hamilton running backs went 10.3 and 9.6. I guess running back and fullback. And your fullback was 5th in, like, nobody had huge games.
I think off the top of my head, James Butler was the only running back touchdown of the week.
Yeah, I think so. Like, that's insane.
It is.
Wide receivers, Tim White, Dalton Schoen, Malik Henry, Rashid Bailey, and Stephen Dunbar Jr. for the top 5. But like James Butler more than doubling second place is crazy.
Wow, it is. Well, what was Dane's total? He had 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he had 35 points.
35 points.
That doesn't seem like it's enough.
What a performance from Dane Evans as the Ticats are set to go to Montreal for Week 16. And then the Saturday doubleheader, we got Toronto, Ottawa, and Calgary, BC. I think I've learned my lesson. I don't think I want to write off another week of CFL football ever again in my life. Saying that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are the undisputed lock of...
Acknowledge them.
So there you go. The best 2 teams in the CFL right now. The
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Hamilton.
Oh, you're the worst.
Hey, You have not trashed Hamilton this week.
Well, because if I do, they just go to the top of their mountain and cry and then yell at me on Twitter. Everything along the QEW 401, 404, 407, 400 is all Toronto. Just get over yourselves. It's all the same.
I want to load up a comment that we had on our YouTube channel. I don't have the username at the top of my head, but the comment goes something like, the Hamilton Argos has a ring to it. Or is it the Toronto Ticats? I don't know. We're gonna get we're gonna get canceled in Hamilton.
You want to make fun of the Argos? At least there's a Toronto team that wins a first round.
It's Theodore King. He says, I mean, the Hamilton Argos does have a nice ring to it.
I like Theodore.
I think we can call him Teddy. Teddy, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the comment on our YouTube channel. You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher. And hey, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment on YouTube as well. We really appreciate that. And you can see the progress as we go along of Brazilian Ty's handlebar mustache, which I must say,
the Pete Walker.
I'm pretty impressed.
And then when the Jays are eliminated, I'm going to shave the handlebars and I'll grow the Oren Larson for NFR. It'll be perfect. Perfect segue. As long as he qualifies. He did well in Pendleton this week.
That does it for week 16 of the 15 of the CFL season. We'll be back on Thursday to get you ready for week 16.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.